Hey, there, it's me, Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment, thanks. Over the next 2.5 days, we mostly relaxed. We took Randy with us on a picnic. I wore a denim jumper. My sisters were totally goofy, grinning at Randy and trying to get his attention. The rest of the time Randy and I hung out together. Most of the time we just acted like buddies. We hiked, we played games on his computer, and we joked around. Just before supper of our last full day there, he said of Francie, "You're a really neat kid. You look pretty, but looking pretty isn't all you think about, like a lot of girls I know. We're on the same wavelength on so many things, it's incredible. I wish you didn't have to go." All I could do was smile and say thanks. On the morning we left, I was wearing the black and white checkered canvas shoes that Lisa had given me, blue walking shorts, and a white top with blue trim around the Mom calls it a bodice, I think. This top covered my tummy, but left my shoulders bare, except for the straps. I had finished packing early so I could say goodbye to Randy. We took a walk down an old railroad track that followed the river. We stopped to toss stones in or to watch frogs jump from the shore. One time we scrambled down the bank to get on a gravel bar. He took my hand to help steady me. But when we got down to the bar, he kept holding on. This was making me very nervous. "Francie, I really like you. I've never had a girlfriend before, and I sure wish that you lived here so you could be mine. Could you write me letters when you get back?" "Sure, Randy. I have the address on the leaflet about the cabins. Maybe I'll send you a postcard from Texas," I told him. "That'd be super. I'll miss you," he said. There was that puppy dog look again. Then he pulled me over close to him and kissed me smack on the mouth. I was so startled I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to run away. Another wanted to smack him. Another, well, I don't know. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to do that. It just happened. Please forgive me, Francie." After I caught my breath, I told him that it was okay. I just wasn't expecting it either. And maybe we could be friends without being boyfriend and girlfriend. "I'll always remember you, Francie," he said as we started walking back to the cabins. "Outside of my mother, of course, you're the first girl I ever kissed. And you're the first boy I ever kissed," I said, truthfully. Hopefully, the last, too. When we got back to the cabin, Mom and the girls were loading. "Hurry up, Francie," they called. "And be sure you get all your stuff, okay?" "Sure. I'll be right over." They were all looking our way. Then I noticed my hand was still in Randy's. Well, I was going to be given a hard time about this anyway. I leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. He hugged me and hooped and ran back to his lodge. Being a boy being a girl isn't as hard as I thought it would be. It's kind of interesting, as a matter of fact. But it's also kind of confusing. On the road again. Of course, Kim and Carrie were shouting and laughing at me, and making kissing sounds. Carrie was already in the front seat. "Carrie," Mom said, "would you please sit in the back with Kim for a while? I think I need to talk to Francie." Oh. As we pulled out, I saw Randy standing in the office doorway, grinning and waving. I waved back. "I was a little surprised at what you just did, Francie. Are you sure that it was an appropriate thing to do?" "What? You mean kissing Randy?" The girls giggled in back and were leaning forward to hear every word. "Mom, you wanted me to act like a girl, so I'm acting like a girl. A girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. Besides, when my sisters saw me holding hands, I knew they'd give me a hard time anyway, so why not give them a show? Francie, I'm sure it was perfectly innocent and that you did it in good fun. But what about Randy's feelings? He took it well, I have to admit, but he could have been terribly embarrassed. And now he'll think there's something romantic going on between you. Mom, I whispered, even though I knew the girls could hear, I was just kissing him back. He planted a big wet smacker right on my lips, down by the river. Now that was embarrassing. I almost slugged him. But then I figured Francie might kiss him back, so I did. The girls gasped. You didn't kiss him back down by the river, did you? That peck on the cheek was the only kiss you started? Mom looked worried. I assured her that it was, and told her that I had no intention of kissing any other boys ever again. Of course, that became the big topic of conversation for the girls. Although they were teasing me, I figured that if I didn't act embarrassed or guilty, they would calm down. I did promise Mom that I wouldn't make any more boyfriends on the trip. One other thing that bothers me a bit, Francie. We all really like it there, right? I agreed with Mom. I had hoped to be able to come back here for a vacation, maybe in another year or two. But if we come back and Randy remembers our family, what is he going to do when he sees a boy named Frank as part of our family, and no Francie? I hadn't thought about that. Kim suggested I could be Francie again, but that didn't seem like a good idea either. Things get tangled, sometimes. As we headed south toward the New Mexico border, Mom smiled and said, Francie, you know how I've said before that with your way with words and your wonderful imagination, you could grow up to be a writer? Yes, Mom. I think I'd like to do that, unless being a spy or superhero or astronaut takes up too much time. Well, someday you could write a story about a girl's first kiss, and you would know from experience what you were writing about. How many other male writers could make that claim? Mom's words got me thinking. That's when I decided that when I had the time, I'd write down about this trip so I would remember what it was like to be a girl, for a little while, anyway. The festival. Movie star. For the past few days, we've climbed around Indian ruins in northern New Mexico. That's the danger of being the children of an anthropology professor. I got to wear jeans part of the time, so I felt a little more normal. It was fun, lots of fun. I loved being in the outdoors under that bright, blue western sky, with the red cliffs all around. I could almost forget my peculiar situation, at least until we would get back to our motel, clean up, and I'd have to put on a flowered dress for supper. And Kim or Carrie would always be sure to put butterfly pins in my hair, or something silly like that. And I'd have to do my nails again because I chipped them climbing rocks. Sometimes I'd fuss that I was dressed more girlish than my sisters were. Then they'd remind me who forgot his suitcase on the trip. Once Mom said, Kim and Carrie will have lots of opportunities to wear nice girl things during their lives. This may be your only chance. We're not trying to pick on you, Francie. It's just that your cousin and aunt enjoy more feminine clothes than your sisters usually wear, and you're borrowing your cousin's clothes. Take today, for instance. We're in a town in eastern New Mexico. They're having a Trail Days, a big festival to celebrate the fact that they are on the Santa Fe Trail. My aunt had sent 2 old-time Western dresses with us. Mom said they looked sort of like the granny gowns that Grandma used to wear when she was a young hippie. They had flower prints, had long arms, little lace collar and sleeves, and went clear down to our ankles. My cousin used to wear them at Gold Rush Days reenactments in the mountain towns near Denver. Since there were only 2 dresses, Kim decided she could wear jeans and a tee, because she was the oldest. So today, Carrie and I were looking cute in our long dresses, surrounded by other people in old-time Western costumes. I felt like a refugee from Little House on the Prairie reruns. It was fun, though. Buckboards and chuck wagons rolled by, pulled by horses and mules. We got to scarf down funnel cakes. But then Mom brought Carrie and me these awful ruffled sunbonnets. We were loyally following Mom down the sidewalk when two people stopped and introduced themselves to Mom. The man was dressed like an Old West card shark, with a striped vest, a string tie, and garters on his sleeves. The woman had a dress sort of like mine and had her hair tied back in a bun. She looked like a schoolmarm. I wasn't paying much attention to what they were saying until Mom said, "Well, that sounds interesting. But you'll have to ask them." "Ask us what, Mom?" I said. The man bent down, smiled, and said, "I'm sorry, ladies. We haven't been properly introduced. I'm John Wengrin, and I run a media and production company in Albuquerque. The city here has commissioned us to create a video about its history, one that they can use in a visitor's center they are building. We are setting up a covered wagon encampment near the river, out by the east edge of town, to shoot the scene that will tell the story of how the town was first settled. We had signed 2 professional actresses who were going to play the parts of the founders' daughters, but they ended up with a last-minute family situation. One of them was red-headed and looked a lot like you," he said, pointing to me. "The other has brown hair," he told Carrie, "but we can put a wig on you, if you'd want to do it. The reason we're asking you to is that you look a lot like the actresses that will play the founders' daughters when they're a few years older. So if you'd like to try acting, we could give it a shot. It's a low-budget operation and we can't pay, but I think you'd have a lot of fun. And of course, when the video is completed, we'd send you a copy. So, what do you think?" "Sure," Carrie and I both said enthusiastically. Kim looked miffed. They only needed 2 girls. But she was the one who left me to wear the dress today and look goofy, so I didn't feel bad for her. They invited us to have lunch with the other actors and crew. That was fun. Burgers and potato salad, chips and pop. Mr. Wengrin told us that they would shoot other scenes in the afternoon, rehearse ours, and then shoot our scene early in the morning. After lunch, we followed the camera crew around and watched as they taped scenes. One time, they had a string of covered wagons moving down the trail, and they drove alongside with their camera on a truck. They even let Carrie and me ride in the cab. About 4 o'clock we rehearsed our scene. The wagons were back in place. I found out that the schoolmarm-looking lady that we met with Mr. Wengrin would be our mother. She was going to wear a reddish blonde wig. Mr. Hanson would play our father. He was a big man with a beard and friendly wrinkles around his eyes. During our scene, everybody was going to be ready to leave, and I was going to ask my parents why we couldn't stay here, since it was a nice place. We rehearsed it a whole bunch of times. The lady who was to act like my mother gave my real mother a list of instructions and a copy of the script. Finally, we left for the evening and stopped for pizza. Back at the motel, Mom had Carrie and I take off our earrings. Frontier girls didn't wear them. Then we used the smelly nail polish remover to take the color off our fingernails and toenails. I wasn't sorry to see the silly decals go, even though Randy had liked them. That reminded me. I ran to the motel office because they had a postcard rack. I brought one with a covered wagon and came back and wrote hi to Randy and told him about the fun we were having with the video. I went to look for a stamp. When I got back, was I mad? Kim had written Zoxoxo all over it. Hugs and kisses. Good grief. I decided to send it anyway. We were sound asleep when the alarm went off. It was still dark out. We rushed around to get out to the filming place. They were already busy there. The assistant director greeted us with a big hug. "Thank you for being on time. You're all going to be great. I'm sorry about your pretty nail polish, girls, but we'll make it up to you when we're done, okay? You don't need to, ma'am, I said. I was getting tired of that color anyway. She gave us some buckskin dresses and had us go change into them. After we changed, I looked out the door. I asked what we were going to wear on our feet. Dirt, the costume person said. And she meant it. She poured dirt on our feet and rubbed it on our faces. Carrie said, "Ew." I was having fun. Then they put old worn sunbonnets on our heads. Finally, we were dirty enough to look like pioneer children in a wagon train. We started for the area where we were filming, and Mr. Wungrin stopped me and lifted my glasses off my nose. Oh, dear. We started toward the wagon that was ours. Mr. Wungrin called for the camera to start shooting. I walked up to the wrong man. I can't help it. They all looked alike. Blurry. We started again, and this time Carrie held my hand. The cameras followed us. I walked up to my actor parents and said, "Mommy, Daddy, this is a nice place. There's grass and plenty of water. Why don't we stay here?" Carrie nodded, right on cue. The adult actors looked at one another and talked, too low for the microphone to pick up. Then my daddy smiled and said, "That's not a bad idea, Katrina. Not a bad idea at all." We jumped up and down and grinned like fools. The director yelled a cut. It startled me. Did we do it wrong? Great on the first take. You two should be professionals, grinned Mr. Wungrin. We grinned back. Our work wasn't done, though. We went through the scene and different parts of it several times, so the camera could shoot us at different angles. When we were done, our actor Amam, the assistant director, praised us and had us go back to the makeup trailer with the makeup person. Carrie and I showered and changed back into our regular clothes. I had on my yellow shorts and halter top again, and Carrie had on blue shorts and a blue striped shirt. The makeup person made sure we had all the makeup off, then she did a manicure, filing and shaping our fingernails and toenails. She used a pretty shade of coral nail polish on me that still went okay with my hair. Please subscribe for the next part. And visit my Patreon page for early access.